Pendulums are about to be tier 1 yet again. What's going on, you guys? Slim here with a new video, and we're here to talk about, will Endymion Pendulums be tier 1? Will Endymion be tier 1? This is a really popular concept right now in our game because in a couple days the new Lord of the Spellcasters structure deck is going to drop, and with it comes a bunch of new Spellcaster monsters, a bunch of new Pendulum monsters, and a lot of people are talking about it and saying that it's going to be one of the best decks. I don't know if it'll be the best deck. Time will tell. If you guys saw my previous video, I did a kind of a new twist on how I do ban list predictions, and I'll have a link to that if you guys want to see it, just to like revisit and get some ideas. So basically, this will be a deck that will be, of course, untouched because pendulums are not going to be touched in any sense since these cards aren't out yet. So these will be new and ready to go for the new format. We don't know if Electromite will come back to more than one, but other than that, the cards will pretty much be left intact. So what I'm going to do is just run down the new cards that come from the structure deck. I'm not talking about the old cards. So there were two old cards, the Magical City of Citadel and the what is it, the Master, Endymion, the OG cards that came out in that old structure deck. I don't even think the monster is going to be run. I think people will run the Citadel, of course, though, because, you know, it's for your spell counters. But we're going to go through the monsters, the basic concepts, and then talk about, you know, which version or, you know, why the deck will be tier 1 or why it won't be tier 1. So all you guys need to know is spell counters is the name of the game. You want as many as possible on every card as possible, and they basically fuel the entire concept of the deck. I was actually quite impressed. I'm not a huge fan of pendulums. I'll be the first to admit it. I never really played a pendulum deck, but I could definitely see myself probably dabbing with this deck because, I don't know, there's something about it that just seems really, really strong. I feel like the new monsters provide a lot of protection and a lot of new things that the old version of this deck could not do. So we're going to start with the Empress of Endymion. Now, bear with me. I kind of just paraphrase these just to make it easier and make the video a little quicker. So this monster has a pendulum effect and a monster effect. So this same basic effect goes in for all of them. Every time a spell card is activated and resolves, place a spell counter on this card. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card to summon this card from the Pendulum Zone, and a monster you can place spell counters on. So that's the thing, is with these effects is you're always going to be summoning a monster that can have spell counters placed on them. That's pretty much all the monsters you play. They can all have spell counters placed on them. So that's kind of the whole concept, is you guys can see you're building all these spell counters. You're able to special summon them both and then place counters on them both. So this is basically a way to like kind of additionally pendulum summon, which is pretty cool. Its monster effect is if this card is special summon, target one card with spell counters on it and one card your opponent controls, return them to the hand, and then put counters on this card equal to the number that was on the card that was returned. So say you return a card that had 2 spell counters, you then place 2 spell counters on that. So it's really cool. It's kind of like a compulse effect, just kind of for any card, so very, very cool. And when this card would be destroyed by battle and does have a spell counter, so remember, all these effects in order to activate have to have spell counters, so that's really important. Kind of like all you really want to do is make sure you have spell counters. If you don't have spell counters, you're probably losing the game. When this card with spell counters destroyed by battle, only by battle, you can add an Endymion card from your deck to your hand. So if it goes to the graveyard, it searches. So very cool. The next card is the big guy, Endymion, the founding Sorcerer Supreme. Its pen effect is remove 6 counters from the field, special summon this card from the pen zone, then destroy cards up to the number of cards you control that have spell counters placed on them. And if you do, put counters on this card equal to the number of cards destroyed. So quick version of that is you summon this, remove 6 counters, destroy as many cards on the field. Then you're able to place you're able to place as many counters on this card as the number you destroy. So if you destroy 4 cards, you put 4 counters on this card. That's like the quick version. Monster effect: when a spell or a trap is activated, it's a quick effect. You can return 1 card with spell counters to the hand and negate the activation and destroy the card, then place spell counters on this card equal to the returned card. So basically, again, if you return a card that has like 2 counters, it places 2 more counters on this card. And you know, it's a negate and destroy. Very, very cool. Once per turn. Also, your opponent cannot target this card or destroy it with card effects if it has counters. So the minute it has a counter, the opponent can't destroy it by card effects or target it. The only way they can destroy it is by battle. However, if this card with the counter is destroyed by battle, add 1 normal spell from your deck to your hand. That's actually insane. You can actually search a normal spell card. You can search Pot of Desires. You can search any like normal spell card. I think that's nuts. Like that is just nuts. So very, very cool for that. We have the Magister of Endymion. Now remember, these names might change via the structure deck. I'm just going off of what Dueling Book and what other you know, like online websites are calling the card. So Magister of Endymion also has a pen effect and a monster effect. The pendulum effect is each time a spell card is activated, you place a counters. You guys should know that. That's like the common thing. Remove 3 counters from this card. Special summon this card from the pen zone and face a monster from the extra deck that you can place a counter on. So this is important. You're basically, this card is used in tandem with your extra deck, because the pendulum monsters will be in your extra deck. You can then summon one of them. It has to be one that you can place counters on, so just remember that. So basically it's just another way, again, to summon additional monsters. I think this is really cool. I think making Electromite is so easy in this deck, it's like not even funny, so it's kind of ridiculous. Its monster effect is when this card attacks, you can place a counter on it, remove 3 counters, special summon a monster from the deck you can place counters on, so that's pretty cool. So it's a quick effect. You're able to just bring out a monster from the deck that you can put counters on, so very cool. It doesn't say if it has to be an attack or defense. You can bring out a monster. It's basically a way to pretty much like kill your opponent, because you attack, you place a counter on this, remove a counter, quick effect, special summon, attack. Like, I mean, it's pretty nuts. And if this card is destroyed in the monster zone, place it in the pendulum zone, then place counters on this card. That's pretty crazy. Like, that's just nuts. Like, you know, like a lot of them have this thing too. If they're destroyed in the monster zone, they go to the pendulum zone. So pretty cool. You just reuse them. So, and then you put the counters on the pendulum. So you just keep accumulating more and more spell counters, which is like the name of the deck. Next card is your Rogue of Endymion. Pretty simple. If this card is summoned in any way of normal or special, place spell counter on it. You can remove a spell counter, discard 1 spellcaster monster from your hand, set 1 continuous spell from your deck, but you cannot activate any of the named card for the rest of the turn. So basically, you can just discard a spellcaster, set a card. You can't activate it for the rest of the turn, but now you have it for the following turn to use on your opponent's turn. So very cool. Then we have, we move on from Rogue of Endymion, we move on to Servant of Endymion, the last new monster. So this card's pendulum effect is the same effects as always. It gets a spell counter whenever it's summoned. What you're able to do with this, you're able to special summon a monster, you remove counters, special summon a monster with 1,000 or more attack that you can place a spell counter on and place a counter on both. So basically you can remove counters, summon a monster with 1,000 or more attack, so that can be pretty much be any of them that can have spell counters placed on them. Put counters on them both. So basically you remove counters, you gain a monster, you continue on with your day. Pretty cool. Monster effect is it can attack directly. That's very cool if it has a counter. Quick effect, discard a card, place a counter on all the cards that can have counters on them. So you can have multiple cards. You could have the Citadel, you could have the Face Up Lab, you could have other monsters, and you just discard a card and then you place counters on everything. So you gain multiple counters in a single turn. So very cool. If this card would be destroyed in the monster zone, place it in the pendulum zone and then reapply the counters that it lost when it was destroyed by battle. If it had 2 counters, you'll place 2 more counters on it. That is it for the monsters. Those are all the new monsters. I think they're very cool. I think they add a whole new dimension to pendulums. I myself have not played Pendulum Magicians, but I know about them. I have played against them extensively. I have friends that play them extensively. So I can definitely see where a lot of people are going to evolve the deck, adapt the deck, and make it really, really extremely functional with these new cards. The last 2 cards I'm going to talk about are the spell cards. We're going to start with the Endymion Lab. This is a continuous spell card that reads, this card becomes the magical Citadel of Endymion while it's in the spell and trap zone, so very cool. It's basically another way to have a copy of the field spell. Each time a spell resolves, you place a counter. This is the once per turn effect. After damage calculation, if a spellcaster monster would be destroyed by battle, you remove 6 counters from the field, special summon a level 7 or higher spellcaster from your hand or deck. You can only activate one of these once per turn. So basically, if they somehow get past your guys, because you know some of them can't be destroyed by card effects. If you have counters, which you usually always have counters, if it's destroyed by battle, you're able to summon a level 7 or higher from your hand or deck. So not only are you getting your pendulum summon, you can special summon from the hand, you can special summon from the deck. Like, you just keep going and going and going. And the last card is Spell Power Control. This card is basically the rota for the deck. You add 1 Endymion card from your deck to your hand and place counters equal to the number of the number, now you have to understand this, the number of copies of this card as well as Spell Power Grasp that you either control or have in your graveyard. I don't know if people are going to play Spell Power Grasp. That's one of the old cards from the Endymion deck, but if they do end up playing that card, if you have, say, multiple copies, you're able to place multiple counters equal to the number of this card that's in your graveyard, this card that you control, and this card that's in your graveyard. You're able to add that many counters. Okay, so that's a rundown of all the cards. I tried to do it as fast as possible. So the whole idea with this is that this whole concept is all around spell counters, as it should be. You should always have spell counters. As long as you have spell counters, you're in there. You can do so many things. Now, what version do I think is going to be the best? Everyone is saying that the Endymion Pendulum Magician is going to be the way. However, you also have the Zephyr route. You have any kind of like pendulum route, and I know a lot of people are hyping Zephyr because you do have the 9 pillars. You do have a lot of the Zephyr Divine Strike. You have a lot of these cool pendulum cards that you can use, you know, at your disposal to just create a board of a bunch of negates. Kind of like Trip always says, you know, 5 negates, 4 negates, 20 negates, whatever it is. You can just basically put up a board of all these negates. All these spell counters, in a sense, are almost like negates because they're added protection for your monsters. They're added utility. They can do so many things. They can disrupt your opponents, but with the compulse effect, you can place a bunch of counters in one turn with the discard effect. There are so many things you can do with this, and not only that, you have the pendulum summoning mechanic. Now, like I said, I have not always been a huge fan of pendulums. I feel that the pendulum summon concept is honestly just insane. I think it's more insane than Link sometimes because you just spam out your whole hand or your whole extra deck, whatever it is. But I think it's really cool that, you know, this deck not only has all these insane effects, but you have the pendulum summon. You have the ability to summon a bunch of monsters at once. You have the ability to link climb. You have the ability to create these massive boards of negates. You can protect all your stuff with Citadel. You can protect all your stuff with your spell cards, with your counters, and you're always going to have spell counters. If you don't have spell counters, like I said, you probably bricked or are losing the game. But not only that, but you can play really good cards like the Jackal Kings, the Mystical Beasts. You can play all these cards that Pendulum Magicians have played before. You can play, you know, you have all your good cards from the Pendulum deck from before. You have the ability to play, like I said, you can play the Zephyr route and play the Zephyr cards. There are so many things that you guys can do with this deck, and I think that's what makes it really, really cool. And do I see it being tier 1? Potentially. I think actually I could see it being definitely one of the top decks. I don't know if it will be the best deck. I think it'll definitely be probably in the top tier though, for sure. I think tier 1, I mean, most likely, yeah, I could see it because I think pendulums are such a strong concept by themselves. You give them more fuel, you give them more fire, like they're just gonna be able to do so much more with them before. And like I said, I was never really a huge fan of the whole concept, but looking at it, I think it's really cool. It's going to bring a lot of players back who wanted to play pendulums and wanted to play something new. I know my brother Vexy is coming back playing this deck, so I'm very excited for him and very excited to see where he goes with it. And I think it's just a deck that's really going to be cool. I think people are really going to have to be prepared again. I mean, we have plenty forms of removal like Twin Twister, we have Anti-Spell, we have all these cards, but this deck is extremely strong. Going first, it can just like obliterate you and create a board that you cannot break. You know, the break my board concept, it's still here and it's going to continue to be here. But do I feel it can be tier 1? I do. Do I feel that it's going to be the best deck of the format? Time will tell. Like I said, if you want to watch my ban list video, that gives you like a general idea of where I think certain things might happen. Again, it was just my opinion with other people, and it's just kind of what we came up with together, what cards we think will get hit and how it'll affect the format. But overall, I'm excited to see what the Endymion deck does for the Pendulum concept. I know Triff, I know Jeremy Mitchell. Shout out to you, Jeremy. I love you, bro. You watch this video, I'm shouting you out like I said I would. I know if he plays this route, he will come up with something amazing. And I know any Pendulum players that you know, visit this concept and create a new deck will definitely set the way for a lot of players in the future. But overall, those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the discussion, you guys know what to do. Lets me know that you enjoy these videos. I want to bring more discussions to you guys, talk about more concepts. And, you know, shout out to my boy Blade Yugioh. He was the one who actually suggested this video to me, along with some of my subscribers. He just really gave me a lot of good info on this deck and things that I should talk about to make it a relevant topic for you guys. So shout out to him, great guy. Definitely check out his channel. If you guys enjoyed the video though, let me know in the comments below. Let me please know your thoughts. I'm not a pendulum expert. I don't ever claim to be. Far from it, but I'd love to know your thoughts down below, what you think about the deck, what it'll do for the game, and how far it will go in the format. But that's all I got to say. Give it a thumbs up, and thank you for watching.